Hi everyone, welcome to AGS IS Academy. Of the topic of today's title is Political Science PSIR optional. Dear friends, for quite some time in this series of video under the banner of AGS IS Academy, we have been discussing about optional paper of political science for IAS Men's or PCS or UGC NET GRF SET or SLET 2021 and 2022. As we just recently saw, one exam held of UGC and it was covering for UGC NET GRF political science. Another UGC GRF is about to come very soon, and that apart, the students, aspirants for IAS are going to face IAS men's exams and PCS men's exams of various state services. PSIR as an optional paper where they keep on getting tremendous advantages of this video under the banner of AGS IS Academy. And today, in the same series of Western political thought, today we would like to discuss some very famous quotations of Rousseau. And as we know, in exams keep coming in any form, the examiners might ask the questions in the form of a famous quotation of any Western political thinker, and they can ask you to elaborate, which is quite useful for all political purposes of this exam purposes of this UGC NET GRF ISPCS plus for those students who are at graduation level, UG or PG. They are pursuing either for BA program, political science or political science honors across the country or anywhere in the world. It's quite useful for them. So let's start about the famous quotations. We pick some famous quotations and then try to explain that. What does it refer to? What does it mean? Dear friends, as you know about Rousseau, who has great name in the history of Western political thought. Needless to add about him, when we talk about like social contract right from Thomas Hobbes, then we go for Locke and then followed by Rousseau. So let's start important quotes. Number one, Rousseau says, people who know little are usually great talkers, while men who know much say little. In UPSC or PCS or UGC NET exam or even UG or PG university or college exams, they can give you this particular quotation and then they can ask you where this quotation has been taken from and who is the author. Explain your answer with the help of suitable examples. So what this quotation talks about? Let's repeat again when he says, people who know little are usually great talkers. Why this has been said earlier also, and it keeps on saying, and many people keep on saying, those persons in the society, in the college, in the university, everywhere across section of the country or society, it's very in common general parlance, those who have little knowledge, those who are much not having depth of any topic, and those whose knowledge is limited, what happens? According to Rousseau, these kind of people are dangerous for the society for creating any kind of constructive vision, constructive thought process, and that may not be useful for the people who are already in distress in different orientations, and those people who are in good positions. For them it could be okay, but for them who are have nots, who are really facing difficulties in hard times and also in usual times, for them the talkative people are carrying novelties, and they are burden on the earth, burden on the society, burden for the people. According to Rousseau, those persons, those intellectuals, those scholars who are man of letter, who has knowledge, and those persons who really have the depth of informations, they are less talkative. They don't waste their time in particularly keep on talking and talking on useless issues. So, according to the questions being asked, if the ask where from this particular quotation has been taken out, so what will the answer? The answer will be from Rousseau. And explanations, as I said, you can give the explanation with a reference to the society or any country or any leader. Leaders, those who keep on talking, they hardly deliver on the ground reality. Those who talk less, they deliver much higher. Their weightage goes much higher. Dear friends, this was the first quote of this video which I discussed. And the second very important quotation of Rousseau is, I prefer liberty. I prefer liberty with danger than peace with slavery. Very famous quotation indeed. Let us break it. An examiner of UPSC, IS, PCS, civil services, colleges, universities, everywhere. If they give you this quotation, they will ask you what does it mean, and before that, where from this has been taken. Obviously, again, this is Rousseau. It says, for a person who loves liberty, freedom as a human nature, they would love liberty, they would protect liberty, they'd go for the preservation of the liberty, come what may at any cost, then fall in line, then listen to rubbish, then listen to others and sacrifice their life, or they can be slapped or acting as a slave for others. So these kind of people who are peace lovers, who are liberty lovers, who are freedom lovers, they hardly can compromise with their goals, with their visions, with their perceptions, and their integrity and credentials. And they are the ones, Rousseau says, they write the history for all times to come. They are the ones who cannot be sacrificed at any cost. They are the ones, even if they are sacrificed, their memories, their ideals, their visions, their missions remain immortal. And this is what, dear friends, you have to explain in the exams. And then let's take the another quotation. But before that, do you think anywhere in the world man loves liberty, man wants to be free by nature? If you, in case the human being, what will happen? Human beings will never free to be slapped. Human beings will never free if you take out their liberties and freedom. According to Rousseau, what it says, the conscience of human being will not survive if the liberty is taken out. Dear friends, another very famous quotation: man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. He says, when man comes in this world, definitely man comes in this world, he or she remains free. The baby in this world is born and remains free. Under is no illusion, and under is no captivation, is no darkness, but believes freedom. Rousseau says if man is born free, then why cannot the person live in freedom and peace? But the reality is, across the world, if man is born free, that could be an ideal situation to survive. That could be an ideal situation to grow and progress. But contrary to the fact of the man being born free, the environment of the ground reality remains different. The environment talks something else and does something else. There's no sheer similarities, there's no sheer alignment in talking and actions. Dear friends, Rousseau very beautifully talks about the nature of human being is to live in peace and progress, even though Thomas Hobbes says something about the nature of man. But here, in general, since man is logical, since man is rational, man has the faculty of deciding what is wrong and what is right. This only human being, the best considered species created by the universe, we call God. No other entity on the earth claims to have as logical, as reasonable as human beings. But then, in spite of all these features of a human being, it is said human beings are put in chains. And that chains try to snatch away the liberties, the freedoms, the creativities, the thought processes independently, and this is where really starts something temporary to the vision and mission of a man and the violations of human rights. If the violations of human rights really go away or that persists, if the violation persists, violation continues of the human rights, what will happen? The liberty, the peace, the progress will not be possible, and that particular person really cannot grow. He is not talking a person in isolation. If he talks like this, he talks the entire human beings in general and one person in particular. But the inference what Rousseau talks about is it applies to each and every human being, no matter what that person lives anywhere in the world. Because man by nature is logical, man by nature is a peace lover, but then environment is not what actually the man thinks about in reality. In ideal terms, it seems so that man can find easily whatever desires to procure in this world. That is not at all possible. The only possibility of a vision can be true, that can be only to some extent or to a limited extent. Any possibility of thinking the vision of freedom will be limitless or beyond the boundary, something will turn out to be simply a chaos, an anarchy, or a fiasco. Dear friends, this is a very, very famous quotation. Repeat, man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains. One is being talked about by Jean-Jacques Rousseau. It is mostly being quoted by the examiners and set as a question and put before the students or aspirants for any high profile competitive exams, and is expected to answer corresponding to the desires as the examiners have asked from the students or the aspirants to answer. So this is how you can narrate, this is how you can exemplify this particular quotation for the suitability of the answer what actually the examiner aspires to procure from you. Let's have the next quotation of Rousseau. The world of reality has its limits. The world of reality has its limits, and the world of imagination is boundless. What it says? The world of reality has its limits, but the world of imagination is boundless. Basically, the entire concept of Rousseau in this connection is what it tries to paint before the society and before the governance and before all cross sections of the society. When we talk about the real vision, mission, and situation of any society of any country, then that gross reality is really limited. The purity of the understanding, the purity of the material or temporal things really is limited. Rousseau in this connection tries to paint the picture of that the world is full of adulteration. The purity cannot be found so easily, it's difficult to procure. So it says the world of reality has its own limitations. Nonetheless, he further says, but the thought processes of imagination has no boundary. The thought process of imagination goes beyond the vision mission of any entity. Why? Because adulteration in the temporal facts is and goes beyond the understanding of the general man. You can find the plethora of imaginations everywhere, but the facts, but the reality, hardly you can find which can really substantiate with the real grounded facts on what the building block actually is formed upon. And the society progresses based on that fact. And Rousseau is really 100% true in this sense when he talks about there is a limit understanding, or there is a boundary for the realization of any particular goal based on purity. But the same cannot be said about the imagination. Imagination of any thought processes can go beyond, and definitely goes beyond any boundary lines, and it's not the story of a particular country, rather it is found even today in the contemporary society of the globalized world everywhere, more or less. Dear friends, this is very pragmatic about this particular perception. So in the examination, from that perspective, if you write, you justify your explanation what I said in this video. You can add your local examples, you can add any examples, but that example should justify with this quotation, and then can really able to connect. Then only that will give the desired results what you are looking for. Dear friends, it's very important in this sense as to how this particular quotation or idea could be imaginative. It could be really having much more pragmatic to fetch maximum marks when you add with examples. So first you will tell from where it has been taken out. Second, what this particular quotation talks about. And then third, will give you explanation. And fourth, you will add examples. And finally, you will conclude. And in that way, your answer will be complete. Let's have the next quotation of Rousseau. And that's again very famous. And that's, I would rather be a man of paradoxes than a man of prejudices. Dear friend, what it says? I would rather be a man of paradoxes than a man of prejudices. It's really interesting when it's being talked about. I would rather be a man of paradoxes than a man of prejudices. It is such a fantastic quotation. It refers to, from the perspective of Rousseau, there can be lot of imaginations, there can be lot of perplexities, there can be lot of understanding, different varieties and different manifestations, but never ever in any sense in this particular thought processes will be bad intentions about somebody else that can really create havoc in the society, and that is not acceptable from the perspective of Rousseau. That is why the stature of such a big personality like Rousseau stands taller than any other contemporary political Western thinkers. Dear friends, you have to say this particular quotation has been taken from where. You have to then explain it, and by explaining, you'll be able to connect, you will be able to dissect, you'll be able to appreciate about the quotation and why this quotation is so important from his perspective when he warns about not to fall into the category of being prejudiced. Because prejudices create havoc in the society, it creates dissensions, it does not connect one to another, but it differentiates, and that is not acceptable for any civilized human being. So this quotation refers to like this. Dear friends, let's have the next quotation, and that is about, here in this video, if you see some pages, you'll find the numbering has been reshuffled somehow, and you can find numbering overlapping, not in the order. So kindly ignore that, and we can focus on the important facts about the quotations. It is too difficult, it is too difficult to think nobly when one thinks only of earning a living. Dear friends, it is too difficult to think it is too difficult to think nobly when one thinks only of earning a living. It is always suggested any human being cannot really think properly, cannot be noble, cannot be justifiable if his target will be to earn, and to survive. Survivability cannot really bring justification for turning out to be a noble man. And that is, no good human being does this. Dear friends, the next quotation is, to be sane in a world of madman is in itself madness. It says when the society is in chaos and anarchy, when there is already problematic, when there is already hurdles, you cannot expect something good. You cannot expect something fruitful, progressive, develop peace and development around. That will be something unacceptable from the environment. And the environment will be hostile rather than friendly to you. This is what actually exemplifies in this particular quotation when Rousseau says like this. Next quotation is, what wisdom can you find greater than kindness? It's not that important from exam point of view. So you can leave it altogether. Then next quotation is, why should we build our happiness on the opinions of others when we can find it in our own hearts? This is really the social contract and discourse under this. This is really very, very important. He says, dear friends, he says, the happiness cannot be brought, built, and erected with the opinions of others, what others talk about, what others say. But this will be only possible when really it comes out from your heart. This will be only possible when you try to make it, when you try to find out, when you try to create it. Dear friends, any happiness is not possible based on others, what others say, what others talk about. It will be only possible when you really think what is right and what is wrong, and that really has connection with the society, does not antagonize, rather, at least falls into the civilized content of the society. Dear friends, happiness arises from one's own heart rather than arises from somebody else's thought processes. So it's very, very significant and important that you should create from your perspective rather than thinking from others' perspective, which is not possible in real sense of the term, and that is not feasible, and that should not be equated as well. Dear friends, the next quotation, there are some quotations in page 4 which are similar. We will not go for that. We'll pick up only one quotation from this page, and that is about, every person has a right to risk, every person has a right to risk their own life for the preservation of it. Is really very, very famous quotation. Here in this video you are seeing all quotations have been put as it is, as of Rousseau, and nothing has been modified or anything done, and quoted as it is. Dear friends, it says, if the man is born free and man has the faculty of reason, vision, and mission and logical, then a man has every reason to work, grow, and become rich, or to do whatever lacks in the society according to the own perception of thought, as long as it does not confront with the law of the land. Dear friends, so every person the way wants to live and lead the life. If required to preserve it, can even risk his or her life for the sake of that preservation of their values and understandings of the society or themselves. To dear friends, these were some famous quotations from exams point of view, UG, PG, competitive exams, IS Men's 2022, PCS 2022, UGC Net JRF, and we discussed all this under the banner of AGS IS Academy so that you all can get benefit. This is totally free of cost, this is totally free, and this is for the purpose of students' benefit or aspirants for competitive exams. We hope you all liked this video. If you liked, do share, subscribe, and also inform to your near and dear so that they also can get benefit out of this. And thanks for watching the video.